The U.S. was planning on invading the Japanese home islands. Plans were drawn to saturate the landing zones, wiping out the Japanese defenders, thereby reducing U.S. attacking force casualties. The intent of this video is to review U.S. plans, resources required, and the effects of the proposed tactical battlefield deployment of poison gas. This map shows the targeted invasion location landings from a declassified 1945 General Headquarters U.S. Army Air Forces in the Pacific document titled Staff Study Operation Olympic. The 6th Army, comprised of 14 divisions, would participate in the November 1, 1945 invasion of Kyushu. The shaded region shows the objective area. The 10 potential Kyushu landing beaches are shown here. For reference, the city of Nagasaki is located here. As of August 1, 1945, the U.S. estimated the Kyushu Japanese troop count to be 421,000, as discussed in this December 1945 Headquarters 6th Army document titled Japanese Plans for the Defense of Kyushu. This value was later revised to 680,000. The Japanese military strength on Kyushu was actually 735,000 by the end of hostilities. The U.S. policy with regard to poison gas usage is spelled out in this 1966 U.S. Army War College report titled, What's Wrong with Gas Warfare? The U.S. no first-use poison gas policy was spelled out by Roosevelt in a June 1943 speech. These weapons have been outlawed by civilized societies. I state categorically that under no circumstances will the U.S. use these weapons unless they are first used by our enemies. To save U.S. lives, poison gas use was considered during the Iwo Jima invasion, but rejected, as discussed in this 1984 Air Command and Staff College report titled Analysis of the Battle of Iwo Jima. Even though the U.S. did not sign the Geneva Convention, which forbade gas usage in war, the U.S. no gas first strike policy was still in effect. The Geneva Protocol forbidding poison gas was proposed in 1925. It was ratified by 40 countries. The U.S. signed the protocol and it was sent to the Senate for approval. 2 senators led the debate against the protocol based on the impression that poison gas is less cruel than other weapons of the time. Based on this opposition, it was never ratified, nor did the Japanese ratify the protocol. The U.S. did have poison gas retaliation plans drawn up, attacking cities of Germany, Japan, or Japanese-occupied Formosa, based on these reports. These plans are covered in these videos. After Germany's defeat, the U.S. reevaluated its no first strike gas position, as discussed in this 1989 Center of Military History document titled The Chemical Warfare Service Organizing for War. Tactical poison gas attacks would be favorable in Japan. The weather was good for poison gas deployment. The British had less influence on U.S. gas policy in the Pacific theater. The high U.S. casualty rates suffered in the battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, projected on the Kyushu invasion, were of great concern. Battlefield deployment of poison gas could save lives and shorten the war. General Stilwell stated that in addition to these weapons, usage of poison gas should be considered in the invasion of Japan. U.S. casualties from significant battles with the Japanese are shown on this table from a June 1945 Headquarters Army Air Forces memo titled Initiation of Chemical Warfare Against Military Targets in Japan. Battles against the Japanese have been costly and difficult to achieve victory. The casualty cost during the capture of Saipan, 16,463, Iwo Jima, 18,586, and Okinawa, 30,526. Certainly, the capture of Kyushu and the Tokyo Plains in Honshu will well exceed these casualty values. This page outlines a gas usage discussion with General Marshall and the U.S. Secretary of War from a May 1945 memo titled Objectives Towards Japan and Methods of Concluding the War with Minimum Casualties. Last-ditch weapons were discussed to reduce U.S. attrition, possibility of limited poison gas usage in future operations. The gas agent does not need to be the most current lethal type. Consider area saturation with mustard gas, and then stand off and allow the gas to work. Logistics of gas deployment need to be evaluated. Public opinion is a factor to consider. Poison gas is no less humane than phosphorus bombs or flamethrowers. The gas would not be deployed in urban areas. Public opinion with regard to poison gas usage is described on this page. In March and May 1945, the public was asked if the U.S. military should use poison gas on the Japanese military. 63% opposed in March, and the opposition increased to 65% in May. Most respondents indicated gas should only be used as retaliation only. In June, the question was reworded. Should gas be used if it will save U.S. lives? 40% said yes, 49% said no. To saturate 1 square mile of the battlefield with a mustard agent, it will take 3,720 standard 100-pound gas bombs. The hazard would exist for 4 days under favorable conditions. All persons without protective clothing would be totally disabled in 24 hours. Unmasked personnel would suffer from the poison agent exposure of the eyes and lungs. Death may occur. Each B-29 could carry up to 144 100-pound class bombs, as shown on this table from a 1945 National Defense Research Committee document titled Weapons Data, Fire Impact Explosion. The bombs will be attached to a T-19 cluster adapter mounted on the B-29's bomb rack, like shown in these images. 26 B-29s will be needed to carpet bomb 1 square mile with 3,720 gas bombs. By November 1st, 1945, it is estimated 1,496 B-29s will be in service, as shown on this graph representing the number of B-29s in inventory by end of month. 20 B-29 groups will be operating from the Marianas and 8 groups from Okinawa. These 1,496 B-29s could carpet bomb 57 square miles of the Kyushu landing beaches 4 days prior to the invasion. This should clear the path for the 14 U.S. assault divisions. Characteristics and a cutaway of the M70A1 poison gas bomb is shown on this page from a 1960 Bureau of Naval Weapons document titled Aircraft Bombs and Associated Components. The bomb is 51.5 inches in length and 8 inches in diameter. The bomb's fill equates to 55 pounds of a mustard liquid. Total bomb weight equates to 128 pounds. When the bomb makes contact, the M158 fuse detonates the M10 burster, which explodes the bomb, rupturing the casing and dispersing the mustard agent. Characteristics of mustard gas are shown on this page from a 1985 U.S. Army Medical Research and Development Command document titled Human Impact of Technological Innovations on the Battlefield. Mustard gas passes through clothing. Symptoms appear in 2 to 6 hours. The fatality rate is around 2 to 5%. Mustard is more toxic than phosgene. A gas mask may be effective, but normal clothing is not. Mustard is a blistering agent and attacks all skin which it contacts. To obtain maximum results, the bombers must initially strike without warning quickly and continue saturation of the area. All bombers will participate in a coordinated attack. Mustard gas battlefield effects are listed on this page. Any mustard agent contact will cause a casualty, a 24-hour period for blisters to develop, resulting in painful burns. The gas threat would last for 4 days. Exposed food, grain stocks, water wells, and streams will be affected. Decontamination is impractical. Only a 100% protected personnel could venture in the open. Spray from the bombs would drift into fortification openings, constituting a danger. Mustard agent has a cumulative effect. Small concentrations will cause a casualty. Continuous mask wearing degrades the combat effectiveness of the mask user. A study was conducted to estimate the effect poison gas saturation would have had on the capture of the Japanese-held island of Baishio. The island is 1 square mile in size and defended by 4,000 Japanese. 3,000 tons of explosives were used prior to the invasion. The U.S. suffered 4,000 casualties. Had just 900 tons of mustard gas been deployed after 48 hours, none of the men would be able to fight, and after 3 days, most would either be dead or burned stretchered cases. Chemical agents are superior in attacking fortified positions. The agents wick into compartments and turning tunnels. The gases are heavier than air, and they will find their way into dugouts, shelters, blockhouses, and gun positions. The report goes on to state chemical agents adopted against the enemy prior to the invasion of Kyushu or Honshu would reduce the exposed personnel's ability to fight. It is highly likely U.S. forces would land unopposed. U.S. casualties would be greatly reduced. The overall study concludes that tactical battlefield gas agent application would weaken Japanese resistance and save U.S. lives. No gas agent application to urban areas except in retaliation. A 4-month window is needed to account for logistics and preparation for the gas attacks. The poison gas study was reviewed by Admiral Leahy, who was opposed to gas usage. He expressed Roosevelt's clear no first-use policy had settled the question. He indicated Truman would need to reverse this policy. However, no gas stocks were available in the Pacific to carry out either a retaliation or first strike. His opposition led to the Joint Chiefs of Staff not pushing the proposal further. The atomic bomb had taken the spotlight during the Potsdam Conference, and after the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the war quickly came to a close, so no further discussions were needed. Kyushu's defense strategy was to challenge the landing forces on the beachhead, as shown on this page from a military intelligence historical division document titled Statements of Japanese Officials on World War II. Annihilation of the U.S. forces at the landing site was the goal, so most of the Japanese defenders would have been exposed to the mustard gas bombing. Given the goal of reducing U.S. battlefield casualties, would you consider usage of a poison gas agent during the invasion justified? If you've enjoyed this World War II bombing topic deep dive review, please consider engaging with the video by liking, commenting, and/or subscribing to the channel World War II U.S. Bombers.